Some stories are more than just tragic. They're a warning. This is one of those stories. It's about a young woman named Celeste Manno who did absolutely everything right when she was being stalked. And it's about how the system that was supposed to protect her failed her at every turn. We really need to break down how this could possibly happen. And at the very center of all of this is Celeste. Her mother, Aggie, said it best. There was nothing not to love about Celeste. She was just 23 years old with her whole life ahead of her. It's so important we start here with her, because this isn't just a case file. It's the story of a real person whose life was stolen. So let's get right to the heartbreaking reality of this situation. After more than a year of being relentlessly stalked by a former colleague, Celeste Manno was murdered in her own home, the one place in the world where she should have been safe. On that horrible night, her stalker, a man named Louis Sacco, didn't just show up. He smashed through her bedroom window while she was asleep and attacked her. She was stabbed 23 times. It was an unbelievably violent end to a campaign of terror that she had been forced to endure for over a year. So where did all of this even come from? How did it start? Well, you might be surprised. It all began with a brief, totally professional interaction at her job that somehow spiraled into this dangerous, one-sided obsession. It all kicked off with something that sounds so routine. In June of 2019, Sasco got fired from their workplace. And because Celeste was his team leader, it was her job to escort him out of the building. That's it. Just days later, the first message on Instagram arrived. And that one message opened the floodgates to over a year of nonstop harassment. At first, the messages were just bizarre. Her mom called them obsessive love poems. Sacco claiming he was so in love he couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Celeste did what most of us would do. She tried to just ignore it, block him, and hoped he'd eventually get the hint and just go away. But he didn't. And this right here, this is where you see the absolute nightmare of modern cyberstalking. It was a relentless cycle. Celeste would block one of his accounts, and literally within minutes, a new message request from a brand new account would pop up. There was just no escape. It left her feeling constantly on edge and completely unsafe. So after 6 months of living with this constant fear, the family realized they just couldn't handle it on their own anymore. They did the right thing. They turned to the police, the very system that's designed to protect people in these situations. The real tipping point, the moment that made them go, was when Sacco's tone suddenly shifted. A message came through that wasn't about obsessive love anymore. It was angry. It felt threatening. And that's when Celeste and her mom, Aggie, walked into that police station for the very first time, desperate for help. And the response they got that first time, honestly, it was just dismissive. They were told that, well, technically he hadn't committed a crime. One officer actually suggested that if Celeste didn't like it, she should just get off social media. Unbelievable. It took another 6 months of escalating harassment before they went back. This time, a different officer took them seriously, even admitting that something should have been done way back then. So, because they kept pushing, they finally got a legal measure put in place. This was supposed to be the answer, right? The official piece of paper that would finally put a stop to all of this for good. With the help of that second, more understanding officer, Celeste was granted what's called a personal safety intervention order. And you can just imagine the relief the family must have felt. For the first time, it seemed like the law was finally on their side. And you know what? For 1 month, just one single month, it actually worked. The harassment stopped. There was total silence. But then, Sacco breached the order. He sent Celeste this chilling 3-page letter. And in it, he completely twists reality, blaming her for the whole situation and begging her to withdraw the order so they could both have peace of mind. The audacity is just staggering. Now, to their credit, the police did act on the breach. They charged Sacco, and right after that, he vanished. The messages stopped again. Aggie and Celeste thought, thank God, he finally learned his lesson. He's scared off. They thought it was over. But he wasn't scared off. He was just planning his attack. So in the horrible aftermath of Celeste's murder, the spotlight completely shifted. It wasn't just about the killer anymore. Suddenly, the entire system was on trial. Her family, experts, even government officials started asking, how was this allowed to happen? Eventually, Louis Sacco pleaded guilty, and got a minimum sentence of 30 years. But for Celeste's family, that wasn't justice, not even close. They felt profoundly let down again, believing he deserved a life sentence. As they said, their daughter doesn't get a second chance. And this really gets to the core of the problem. Experts say the justice system often just doesn't get stalking. It sees individual incidents, not the whole picture. But stalking is a pattern. It's a slow, terrifying buildup of fear and psychological harm that just escalates and escalates over time. In response to what happened to Celeste, it looked like change was coming. Victoria's Law Reform Commission launched a big inquiry. They came back with 45 detailed, specific recommendations to fix the state's stalking laws and better protect victims. So how many of those 45 common-sense recommendations have been fully adopted by the government since then? 0. Not a single one. I mean, you even have Victoria's Attorney General on record saying, "I know that the system failed that family." And yet, for Celeste's family, those words just ring hollow. They were promised change, but 4 years later, they are terrified that the exact same tragedy could happen to another family tomorrow, because those fundamental flaws are still there. And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with. Celeste Manno and her family did everything they were supposed to do. They reported the harassment, they got the intervention order, they reported when he breached it. When a victim does everything right, but the system that's supposed to be their safety net completely falls apart, who is ultimately responsible?